To the other big story of the day, former Post Office boss Paula Vennells giving evidence again. She's denied trying to close down a review into the software which led to the wrongful convictions of hundreds of sub-postmasters. She told the Horizon inquiry that executives felt the independent analysis was too expensive. Let's have more of a listen to what she's been saying today.
The Post Office most certainly wanted the reassurance that the Horizon system could be relied upon. That has been the objective all the way through this. At no stage did I get the sense that anybody in the Post Office was going to be able to influence Second Sight over what conclusions they came to. I would be very surprised if that was the case here.
Well, let's speak to Varchas Patel, son of affected sub-postmaster Vipin Patel. Good afternoon to you, Varchas.
Hi, good afternoon.
Well, firstly, what are you making of Ms. Vennells? Day two on the stand. I don't think we can call it a doc, at least not yet. But there she is, giving her evidence. It seems the jump out thing, the takeaway thing for me is that there was quite a lot of stuff she apparently didn't know was happening, considering she was the head honcho, the supreme boss. That seems a bit curious to me.
I personally wouldn't put too much reliance on Paula Vennells' words via the inquiry. She's not very forthcoming, and quite frankly, she's a bit of a hypocrite on the grounds that when she's claiming that independent review would be expensive, the Post Office and the government spent nearly £100 million trying to ruin Alan Bates and the group.
Yeah.
So if Post Office genuinely wanted to resolve all these issues for a small number of postmasters during the Second Sight mediation and review, they really could have.
Just tell us what happened to your dad briefly.
So in in December 2010, my dad was audited. They found a £34,000 shortfall. And then in June 2011, to my father's surprise, they sent a court summons, and thus they wrongfully prosecuted my father.
So essentially, they said he stole the money, as happened with all these other hundreds of people in the same position.
Yes. When my father paid them the £34,000, and I have to expressly state that it wasn't just £34,000 that the Post Office took from my father. Prior to that, he had to cash in his Royal Mail pension and sell my mum's family heirlooms to the tune of around another £45,000.
Wow.
So in the financial year of 2010, my father's Post Office Horizon losses were in excess of £75,000. That's a lot of money in one financial year.
Indeed. I know this is a repeat point, and I keep saying it when I speak to people like yourself. But of course, what made the whole thing more poignant and cruel was that every sub-postmaster was made to think it was only them. This isn't happening to anybody else. So, and yet the Post Office themselves, you wouldn't have to be Columbo to sit there and think, hang on a second, we've got 800 people here, all with the very, very similar amounts of money, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, etc., all happening at the same time. It could be there's something wrong with the system. It's extraordinary that no one, well, if they did think it, and I'm sure they must have done at some point, but no one was able to carry that narrative through and do something about it.
Well, I genuinely believe they all knew. The average prior to Horizon being installed was about one or two postmasters a year being prosecuted. Once Horizon was installed, the average rose to about 1.5 a week.
Wow. And building up to the many hundreds, of course, that we now know about. What are you hoping from this inquiry? And was there compensation and money returned for what had happened to your dad?
In terms of what I'm hoping for the inquiry, myself, my father, and all the other sub-postmasters, they want the truth. They want to know why they were all targeted in this malicious manner.
Mm.
Everyone who comes to the inquiry, including Paula Vennells, clearly has a very, very bad memory. It's like them playing post office inquiry bingo. They say things like, "Not that I recall. I don't remember that."
Yeah.
Um, in hindsight, yes, I wasn't present at that meeting, yet they are on the attendance list. And my favorite two, I can't remember saying that. That's not an expression I would use.
Yes.
Yet it is shown to them that they have written such emails.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't realise the paper trail that was behind them. Has that money been paid back to your family, to your dad?
No, though my father and around 100 others with overturned convictions received initial hardship interim payment. Um, and my father is quite some time away from receiving an offer.
Yeah.
His compensation still needs to be calculated methodically and with expertise, given all the different types of complicated losses my
Well, I was going
father.
to say the losses aren't just the obvious amounts of money. They get there's the strands and the tentacles of loss and trauma and the horror of people pointing you in the street. Oh, you're the bloke that stole the money. All of that. Kids whose parents were in these jobs, experienced what that was like in the playground to have, there's so many elements to this that are all, and they're all horrific. And I really hope that the government said they will come good for you guys. And I really hope, Varchas, that you are absolutely paid out in full and then some very, very quickly. We'll watch with interest, but thank you, Varchas Patel, son of affected sub-postmaster Vipin, who, as you heard there, found himself prosecuted under this iffy, rather moody system over there at the post office, under Paula Vennells. Yes, it's not a phrase I would use. That is a classic now, isn't it? It's not a phrase. I don't reckon I wouldn't use that phrase. Well, actually, here's an email, mate. Yeah, you did.